Ladies and gentlemen, this is your boy, and the saga continues. What can I say? It's not like I didn't expect this at all. Now, I want to preface this by saying, if you don't know what the context of this video is, recently on September 23rd, I believe, don't quote me, I might be wrong, I'm kind of doing this on the fly because I'm trying to get this information out as fast as possible. Wizards of the Coast and the Rules Committee for Commander, for Magic the Gathering, they banned several cards, okay? They banned several cards at the same time after not having banned anything for a very long time, okay? And they received a backlash like you would not believe. And part of the reason why is because they banned cards that were not only iconic to the Commander format, but they were extremely expensive cards. And when I say extremely expensive, I'm talking about there are people that have to work multiple days just to be able to afford one of these cards. Or not now because they're banned and they lost all their value. But before the ban, Jeweled Lotus and Mana Crypt were over $100, with Mana Crypt being almost $200. And then the alternate art versions of these cards were in the hundreds of dollars, some even cresting up close to $1,000. And they banned these cards. Now, you might think to yourself, oh, well, you shouldn't have kept this as an investment. You shouldn't look at it that way. It's all gameplay value. If you go back on my channel and you watch the other videos that I've posted about this particular saga, you'll know that that's just complete nonsense. That's what Wizards of the Coast would have you believe, while they themselves are treating the entire Magic the Gathering community as their own personal stock portfolio / wallet that they can just take money out whenever they want. So the fact that they colluded together to ban these cards that were so expensive, so iconic to the format, is honestly very, very blind, very, very wrong, and reeks of malfeasance. It reeks of just all kinds of wrongdoing. But I'm not going to get into that, because earlier this week, I think actually like a day ago at this point, I don't know, I've lost track of time. I've been staying up all night, responding to posts, doing all kinds of stuff. Recently had a hurricane fly by Florida where I live. And yeah, things are just kind of all melding together. But this specific thing that I'm talking about is recently Lee Quai, the CEO of the Game Nights group, Command Zone, I guess is the name of his YouTube channel. Really, really big, important guy in the Commander community. Really has brought a lot of people into knowing about Commander and is just very, very important figure. And this is not a controversial take. This is something that, like, me personally, if you had talked to me 5 years ago, I would have been like, he's not that big of a deal. But he's come to grow on me. He actually, back in the day, I used to own an LGS. He would order product from me, so I know he cares about the little guy. This guy, really cool guy. He's done a video about why he resigned, but that's the thing. He resigned from the CAG. So for those of you that don't know, the CAG is the Commander Advisory Group. All right? They are the group of people that the Rules Committee and Wizards of the Coast would approach about all things Commander to get the pulse on what the community thinks. And these bans were not brought to the CAG. These bans were literally kept secret from the CAG. And you ask yourself for a second, why would they form this group back in 2019 and keep this specific thing a secret? Maybe because they knew that they were doing something wrong to the community? Maybe because they knew that this was not the right move? And when Lee Quai resigned from the Commander Advisory Group, I told myself, I said, this is proof positive that the people involved making this decision, Wizards of the Coast and the Rules Committee, knew they were making the wrong decision, but they didn't care. They didn't care. And when you go to the rules committee's fact that they created about the situation. Think about. I want you guys to think about this. They created a FAQ, an FAQ specifically around this ban. They've never done this before. They have never done this before. And the reason why is because they know the community had billions of questions. Probably, I don't know, billions might be an overstatement, but a lot of questions. And they know that the community didn't revolve around this, and they just want to put this blanket statement instead of just going, oops, sorry, we made a mistake. We're going to unwind this. Our bad. We really didn't think it was going to be this bad. They just put out a fact and say, this is the way it's going to be. And they admitted on that fact that they did not tell the Commander Advisory Group. Because in the beginning, a lot of people were mad at the Commander Advisory Group because the Commander Advisory Group is supposed to have the pulse. They're supposed to know better. They're supposed to be the ones that say, hey, don't do this. And the thing is, Josh Lee Quai came out pretty much and said, if they would have told me about this, I would have said, don't do this. So I thought to myself, wow, I wonder who else is going to leave the Commander Advisory Group. And then I saw this come across my feed. Kristen Gregory. Now, I will say that I don't really know this person well at all. I don't follow this person, haven't seen any videos, but at first glance, she is the head writer at Card Kingdom. Card Kingdom, huge online retailer, okay? Huge online retailer. So I don't really, and I will admittedly tell you, I didn't even know that the Commander Advisory Group before this had that kind of spread. I didn't know who was on it. I thought it was just random people. Truthfully, honestly, I just thought that they were part of, they were like a subset of the RC. I didn't think that they had done this much, but I do remember that Sheldon Menery, the person that effectively started Commander as a format, not EDH. Remember, EDH was around before it was the format known as Commander, but Sheldon Menery was a level 5 judge who passed away last year. All right, rest in peace, Sheldon Menery. And I never really agreed with him very often on things he did, but when he posted that he was forming together this Commander Advisory Group, I was like, you know what, that's a really good idea. But I never really cared much beyond that because I didn't go and follow people. I'm not a respecter of persons, if you will. I'm not somebody that will fanboy over people very often. I mean, you'd have to have done something amazing for me to be a fan. You know what I mean? But the thing is I'm not going to go and find out everyone that is on this Commander Advisory Group. I'm just going to trust that, hey, these guys, they kind of know what they're doing. They have the right head in their mind. You know, they've done some pretty good bans, you know, like Flash needed to be banned, Hull Breacher needed to be banned, and so on and so forth. I didn't always agree with like the early bans early on, but I understood because when they were banned back in their time, they were an issue. But up until this past week, they were always pretty decent with their bans and the decisions they made. So I just trusted that everything was fine. But then this happened. And now I'm like, this smells. This is not good. Something's up. And now we're starting to see the blowback of this. And this Kristen, she was on this Commander Advisory Group and she resigned after Josh Lee Quai resigned. And this was her statement. So let's go ahead and take a look at her statement. Sheldon Menery, I told you guys, asked me to join the Commander Advisory Group in 2021. It was actually formed in 2019. In 2021, she was asked to join the Commander Advisory Group. And it has been an honor to work with him and the rest of the RC and CAG in the past few years. I remain grateful for the opportunity to work with some of the greatest minds in the format, engage with players from around the world, and to have made good friends along the way. After taking a few days to reflect on things, I have come to the conclusion that makes sense for me. Effective immediately, I am resigning from the CAG. Wishing nothing but the best for the future to the rest of the CAG and RC, yours sincerely, Kristen Gregory. I commend you, Kristen, on jumping ship, because this, to me, was an absolute slap in the face. When you think about it, if you were formed by who is lovingly called the godfather of the format, Sheldon Menery, and you were invited to join this group, right? Remember, you guys got to think about this. In 2021 and 2019, Sheldon had been battling a disease that he knew was going to very likely end him. He was setting up things in order to keep the commander format balanced, the decision-making balanced, and to keep things going even after he was gone. This is a slap in the face to Sheldon Menery's memory. That's a tongue twister, right? This was a slap in the face to the members of the CAG to sit there and have the CAG and have them set up specifically to get these things hashed over and then to outright ignore them. And then the excuse that the RC used on their FAQ, you can go back and read it now. The FAQ says, we didn't want leaks to get out. That was their really low tier excuse. Excuse me? As if the CAG has not been given spoilers and all kinds of things in the past. The reason why they kept the CAG out of it was because they knew that this was a decision that the CAG wasn't going to agree with and that they would have caused a fuss about it earlier on. That's why they kept it out there. And you can tell because when you look at the RC, I laugh because when you look at the RC's fact, it says we wanted to send a strong message. And I've said this over and over again. Who are you to send a strong message to a community of players and collectors? That power doesn't belong to you. You don't get to send a strong message about the way you want the format to be and play with people's money. And everybody everybody has said this, right? Everybody said you should not be going and doing threats of violence against the RC. And I agree with that. However, when you mess with people's money and their valuables, you better expect that to happen. You are in a position of authority. And again, I'm not victim blaming here, right? But there's a point at which you can't go take a huge swing at people, punch them in the wallet, in the face, in the emotions, and then step back and say, don't hit me, don't hit me, don't hit me, don't hit me. It's rude to hit people. You can't do that. It's not right. You can't sit here and make such a rash decision using your authority, abusing your authority in the most dishonest way, and then saying, don't hit me, don't be mad, don't be mad, don't be mad. Like, no. You kind of had to know that this was going to happen. You did know. Because you didn't tell the Commander Advisory Group. The position that they were chosen to be in to balance you and your decision making out, I'm sorry. The RC, you guys, I hate to say it like this, but the truth is you kind of deserve it. You kind of deserved it. You messed with people's money. You messed with people's cards. You messed with people's property. You mess with people's emotions and their feelings, their hopes and their dreams. And this is what happens. And you can't say, don't hit me. Don't be mean. Like, hello? And here's the thing. You told on yourself because there's a certain point at which you could say, oh, we had no idea that this would be so bad. But you outed yourself when you said that Olivia, apparently one of the members that's getting the most threats of violence, one of the members of the RC that's getting the most threats of violence, Jim, who's also another member of the RC, stood up and said, hey, she was the one that was for you guys. She was the one that's saying, don't do this. So you told on yourself. So you knew you had a member of the RC who was telling you, hey, this is a bad idea. And yet you went forward with it. And then you present her like, hey, guys, don't do this. Don't hurt us. She's a part of us. And she had your back. You tried to use Olivia as your pariah. You tried to use her as your scapegoat. Guys, you messed with people's livelihoods in some cases. There are stores and small businesses that need to pay rent. And they'll sit there and they'll buy a card. They're like, yeah, I'm going to buy this card. This guy comes in with a collection. He's like, hey, I'm going to offload my whole collection. And I got like 6 Mana Crypts and a bunch of Jewel Lotuses. And that store's like, cool. Well, I don't really have a whole lot of money right now, but this is a pretty solid buy, right? So I'm going to go ahead and buy all these at, maybe 40, somewhere between 40 and 60%. And then over the weekend, you guys make this decision. That's a really bad decision. And now that store potentially lost thousands of dollars. I mean, I used to be an LGS owner. I know how it feels. The margins are super tight. I closed my LGS store down because I couldn't handle it. The margins are super tight. You're already there. These stores are already competing with Wizards of the Coast via Amazon.com and Secret Layer drops. I mean, margins are tough. And for you guys to sit here and do something that could potentially hurt an LGS, and not just that, but I believe that if you watch Josh Lee Quai, the game nights, Command Zone, they did their response or whatever to why Josh Lee Quai was quitting the CAG and the whole banning update and all that stuff. He made a really good point. He said not just that, but there's a lot of Magic players that rely on the value of these cards as kind of like a stopgate to emergencies that happen. And that's a very solid point. There are people out here that are just sitting on collections going, you know what? I'm just going to, in case something bad happens to me, in case I lose my job, you know what? I can always rely on these really high value cards that I have to go and sell and make a little bit of money. And now they can't. So you took real value out of people. And for those of you out in the community that are saying like, oh, well, you shouldn't be treating these cards as investments, then why does Wizards of the Coast get to treat it as an investment? All right, that's just the lowest tier excuse, victim blaming type argument that you can make for this situation. There are people out here that are really hurt, and there are people out here that are only making $10 to $15 an hour that they spend their hard-earned money to play a game that they really want. Because, by the way, like, proxies are often frowned upon. Everyone says, oh, don't print proxies. You should own a copy of the real card. So there are players that are literally bullied by the community into buying real versions of these cards, right? Despite them being way above what they can realistically afford, but they do it anyway because not only that, they love the game, but they love the community, and because they think to themselves, hey, it's not that big of a deal. In case I get into a problem, I can always sell this card and get some of my value back. This is part of what makes the game great. It's that idea right there is what gives the game longevity. It's what makes Magic the Gathering, and not Pokemon or Weiss Schwartz or any of these other card games, or what is it? What was that one game, Force of Will, that pretty much just no longer exists because there was no good secondary market value. There was no good excuse to go and invest in these cards because you're like, yeah, whatever money I put into this game, it's not going to be valuable. Okay, I'll spend $3 or $4 on a booster pack and I'm going to get 2 cents worth of cards back. Like, why would I even do that? It doesn't make any sense. There's no guarantee of return. But at least with Magic the Gathering, that's been a thing. It's been rooted in the game since the very inception of the game. It's part of the reason why Wizards of the Coast made the reserve list in the first place. So for you to use that argument and say these people are dumb for having invested their money in it, you're the dumb one. You don't even understand the history of the game or why people play it. Like, honestly, like, get off your high horse. Sorry. And rant. But this is the important part. This is the second member of the RC that has quit. This has got to tell you something about this. These people are high-level people in the Commander community, and they are leaving one after another. So you got to think to yourself, whose side am I really on? Do I support these bans? Because remember, these positions are not paid positions. These CAG group positions, as far as I know, are not paid positions. So this is a matter to them of honor and respect and duty. This is a matter of whether or not they want to stand behind something that is right or wrong. This is about whether or not they feel that they could actually make a difference. And when something like this happens and they feel that they cannot make a difference, they feel that something unjust has happened, and these are the people at the highest level of the game, then you know something is wrong. And what you should be doing is you should be liking and sharing this video, commenting it so I get an algorithmic comment, and letting as many people you know that this was an injustice that borders on the criminal. All right, so Kristen, I commend you. I don't know if you're ever going to see this video. I commend you wholeheartedly for this action. I think it was the best thing that you could have done for your personal career and for your mental and emotional health and for the greater community. Putting yourself away from a position that kept you in on the know, kept you in the circle. You know, because like you got to think about it as a regular Magic player. If you're watching this as a regular Magic player, how great would it be to be trusted and know things that are coming up? That would be like the most exciting position you could possibly have. That is the pinnacle of what most people would ever consider to be a Magic player's career. To be part of the group that helps make decisions and it helps give opinions. Part of the group that someone like Sheldon Menry, an L5 judge that started at the very beginnings of the game and eventually helped create the format that we know and love today, known as Commander. That person personally went to you and said, I need you for this. That's what Kristen gave up, and I commend her for that. That was awesome. But it's not awesome, right? It's not awesome that it had to happen this way. Anyway, I think that's it. Appreciate you guys for watching my video. Peace, love, and chicken grease. See you guys later.